Do you know the 14 traits of successful chiropractors? We've interviewed some of the top chiropractors in the industry and have identified the common traits that they all share. Jump on over to www.chirobusinessmojo.com to get your free report today.
Welcome to the Chiro Business Mojo podcast, where we deconstruct the methods, marketing, and mindset of successful business people and chiropractors from around the world. And now your host, Dr. Richard Day.
Yes, I am Dr. Richard Day, and this is the Chiro Business Mojo podcast. Thanks so much for checking in with me here today. I am excited to be here. I am having a great day, and I hope you are having a great day too. I am even more excited to bring on my next guest. His name is Bedros Keuilian. He is a best-selling author, speaker, and high-performance consultant. He's the founder and CEO of the fastest-growing indoor fitness boot camp franchise, Fit Body Boot Camp. He's known as the hidden genius that the experts turn to when they want to create and launch successful digital info products, best-selling books, and high-level coaching and consulting services. Bedros is best known for his ability to help his clients quickly establish expert authority positioning and become the predominant brand in their field. His sales, marketing mindset, and business systems are the secret weapon used by thousands of successful digital marketers, best-selling authors, coaches, and entrepreneurs who want to reach more high-paying clients and customers without the use of unpredictable marketing tactics. Welcome, Bedros Keuilian.
Thank you so much for having me, Richard. I really appreciate the opportunity.
And the feeling is mutual. I really appreciate you taking your time to spend with our listeners here today. And I invite you to jump in and fill in any gaps I may have missed in your bio.
Yeah, you know, the biggest gap, which I think we're probably going to talk about at some point, is that I've got this unique little story, and it's given me something that's very special. I consider it my superpower, which is the Immigrant Edge, which we will talk about as we move along here throughout our interview.
Well, I'll tell you what, why don't we start with that? What's your background?
Oh, sure. So in 1980, my father decided that we are going to escape communist Armenia at the time under Soviet rule. I was 6 years old, and we came to the United States. Of course, when you're escaping a communist country, you're risking a lot. And, of course, he was risking going to jail and potentially Siberia for good. And this is not something we wanted, obviously, as his kids and his family, but we were able to make the escape and came to this wonderful country, to the United States. Why my father chose California, I'm not sure, and I'm grateful that he did. I love the state, even though we pay 13% more taxes than everybody else. I consider that a luxury tax, and so I'm okay with that. But as we came here, we found ourselves to be very poor, very broke. We did not speak the language. We did not know how to assimilate well, since we had no one to show us and introduce us to the country. And so we went through a lot of trials and hardships. As you might imagine, when you're broke and poor, you have to kind of figure out whether you're going to buy food today or have a roof over your head. And so oftentimes the option was my dad chose to have a roof over our head if we were renting a bedroom for a family of five. So imagine that 5 of us were sleeping in one bedroom in someone else's apartment. But hey, we had a roof over our head. But my job as the youngest of the family was to be the breadwinner. And when I tell people this, whether I'm speaking to thousands of people or to a small group of people where I'm coaching and consulting, they go, what do you mean a 6-year-old was the breadwinner? I said, well, I was the lightest and easiest one to lift up and throw into a dumpster in the back of a grocery store. And so it was my, yeah, imagine that. Now, I looked at it as a treasure hunt, Richard. Like, to me as a kid, you know, everything's an adventure, right, when you're a kid. But my job was to pull out the foods that had expired, had gone, could not be sold anymore, but weren't necessarily so bad or they couldn't be eaten. And so that's what I would do. And I was the breadwinner, and my mom and dad and my older brother and sister each had multiple jobs, working at pizzerias, washing dishes, delivering newspaper, pumping gas in the middle of the night. And I'm happy to say that I did my part and they did theirs. And today we are living the American dream because of that. But that experience of being so poor, broke, destitute, having my hair washed with gasoline as a kid when I had lice because we couldn't afford lice treatment, all those things I now realize have given me my superpower of having this ability to turn adversity into an advantage. And so, again, whether it's on a podcast, coaching group, giant speaking event, I like to transfer my Immigrant Edge story and way of living to everybody that I speak to now.
Yeah, wow, what a powerful story. I mean, we're all shaped by our backgrounds, but I can tell you, I've only known this country, and my growing up experience is very different than yours. But what a way to really, I guess, toughen you and give you all of those skills it takes to fight for what it is, success and things you want out of life.
Yes, sir. That's absolutely true.
Well, as you know, the focus of this show is on chiropractic. And before we get going, have you ever seen a chiropractor before? Do you know what we're all about?
Yes. In fact, I have seen a chiropractor, and I see one regularly.
Well, there you go. Anything you want to share out of that? What sort of issues have they helped you with, or is it just basic wellness care?
Well, as it turns out, when I was born, as you can imagine, in a Soviet country, medical science wasn't the most evolved. I was a footling. In other words, I was coming out foot first, right? Leg, feet first. And I don't know if it was the process of pulling and tugging on me to get me out, because they certainly didn't do what our doctor did with my firstborn, which is to turn you around and have you come out head first. As my dad and mom tell me the story, they were tugging and yanking and pulling. And so even today, my one leg is shorter slightly than the other. And it's not that the leg is shorter, but my hips are off. And that creates a lot of lower back pain if I'm training and I'm not paying attention to my form, et cetera. And of course, I travel a lot too. And when you're going through airports and sitting on airplanes for long periods of time, that doesn't help. But it's thankfully my chiropractor, man, Dr. Border out here in Chino Hills, who has been kind enough to straighten me out every time I go to him.
Well, that's great. Those are the kind of success stories that I know that I love to hear, and our audience does too. And we were talking a little bit before we started recording that there are a lot of parallels in what it is that you do in terms of coaching, people to be fitness coaches, and what we do as chiropractors running our own businesses. We're kind of consumed with how we're going to grow our practices, and, how do we take care of the people that are already there, and how do we continue to attract new patients into the practice. So why don't you share with us some of the strategies and systems that you use? And I know, time constraints, obviously there's a lot, but whatever, the basics that you can touch on would be great.
Yeah. The three big things are the people, the product, and the process. Anytime we're dealing with any kind of business, we want to talk about the people, the product, and the process. And really, it boils down to the people more than anything these days, because you can have a great product and you can have an amazing process in place. You can have a referral getting process. You can have a upselling process. However, if the people are not dialed in, they're not tuned in, they're not on the same mission as the chiropractor who started that business. Maybe the chiropractor has a vision and a purpose, and his or her purpose is to help, 3,000 people in their community by the year 2020. Well, does your staff know that? If your staff does not know that, if your people don't know that, they're not going to get behind the vision and the mission, and they're not going to insist upon referrals and upsells and et cetera. And so the biggest thing I like to focus on these days are the people that are working with you. I don't always say for you, but with you. I look at this as any workplace as a team. And of course, the other big thing, the big shift that I saw happening over the last, especially 6 to 8 months, because of Facebook Live and Periscope and YouTube Lives, is full transparency in marketing. Like, I insist on the personal trainers and the franchisees who own a Fit Body Bootcamp franchise, which is our brand, to show them, give them a peek into their life, because people now want to know who's behind the business, who's behind that website, what is their mission, what is their goal, how do they live, do they have a dog, do they have a boy, a girl, are they married, are they not? And you would think, what does any of this matter in the whole scheme of things? But believe it or not, people buy from people these days and not from businesses anymore. So full transparency in marketing is critical. And the best way to do that is through email communication, text broadcasts, and of course, going live on Facebook and pumping out Facebook videos, not that are perfectly scripted, but just holding out your phone and giving a tour of your business and showing people what it is you do, why you do, and how it's aligned with your big mission of making an impact. And that to me has been life-changing for all of my coaching clients.
So how do you suggest people organize their time? Because, as it stands as a chiropractor, we are wearing a couple of different hats. We're trying to make sure that we're taking care of the business and we got the floors vacuumed and everything like that done. And then we're, of course, trying to provide great patient care as well. And then there's the whole entrepreneurial marketing side of things. And it's a lot of hats to wear. And I know especially, we'll talk about this later a little bit more, but, social media and Facebook Live in particular, it's a new skill for a lot of people. And there's a whole sort of, stage fright that goes along with this. So any strategies on how we can really, I guess, A, utilize our time a little bit better to get more done, and then 2, prepare ourselves to wear an additional hat or 2?
Absolutely. And in fact, you just nailed it. You said, as a business owner, we do it all. We have to clean the restrooms. We have to vacuum the carpets. We have to wipe down the windows. We have to make sure that payroll goes out. We have to make sure electricity and water is paid for. And then as an entrepreneur, you also have to make sure the marketing's done, the sales system, the processes are in place. As a human, you simply can't do that. There are only 24 hours in a day. I imagine anyone and everyone listening to this probably has a family. They probably have a lifestyle they want to live. I mean, you don't become a chiropractor just to work around the clock. Same as a personal trainer, even though some people go, well, this is my passion and purpose. Let me tell you, man, that will wear out with a quickness if you just keep burning the candle on both ends and the middle. And so the reality is you shouldn't be vacuuming. You shouldn't be cleaning the toilets. You shouldn't be doing anything that does not involve impact and income. And so I have this rule that I created for my business and then passed it along to my coaching clients, and now I'll pass it along to you, and I call it the 5% rule. And in any business, there's typically only 5% of the things that matter that move the business forward. In other words, my rule of thumb is if it doesn't move the needle of impact or income, then I'm not doing it. I can say this another way. If I can pay someone $20 an hour or less to do this task, then I shouldn't be doing it as a chiropractor or a personal trainer. I've seen doctors, lawyers, engineers doing jobs that a $9 an hour person can do who is not skilled in anything other than wiping windows. And so the 5% rule says that my job is to delegate, motivate, sell, and inspire. And if I can do that, imagine if we were 2 chiropractors across the street from each other. We graduated from the same chiropractic college. We have the same skill set, same communication skills. We have the same number of hours in the day. Our families are structured the same. We go to the same church. Everything is same. However, I'm only focusing on, during my morning hours, let's say I pick 2 hours in the morning before I go into work. I'm going to market on Facebook. I'm going to follow up with clients, or at least teach my staff how to follow up, because that's a needle moving element in my business. So I'm going to focus my 2 hours in the morning, what Craig Ballantyne calls his magic time in the morning, on delegating, motivating, selling, and inspiring. And then I'm going to outsource the other 95% that has to happen to somebody else. In the meantime, you're trying to do the follow-up, you're trying to do the selling, you're trying to do the Facebook marketing, you're trying to send out text broadcasts, and you're swabbing the decks, and you're cleaning the toilets, and you're, filling out payroll checks, paying your taxes. All those things have to get done, but that's in the trivial 95%. That critical 5% are the things that move the needle, and that's what the doctor should be doing. That's what the expert should be doing, the entrepreneur, and that's really how you begin to get the most out of your time. Otherwise, when we look at those 2 case studies that I just gave you, all things being equal, you're spending your 8 hours a day working on everything. I'm spending my 8 hours a day just marketing and then delivering the results. Holy cow. After a year, I'm going to have made quantum leaps in my business and my lifestyle and my impact, and you're just going to be burnt out and stressed out.
Well, I love this 5% rule. I'm always telling my wife, I can't wait for her to hear this episode, because she'll do something, she cleaned, I don't know, whatever it happens to be in the house. And I'm thinking that's great, but what's your time worth? She does, a lot of the business work for our practices that we own. And, I keep saying we should get someone to do that. We should get someone to do that. But, as a husband, I say it very nicely and gently, but coming from you though, she might actually listen.
I'll tell you how this lesson. The best lessons I was told by a friend who's a Navy SEAL. He said in the military the best lessons are learned in blood, right? Unfortunately, in bloodshed. And they go, holy cow, that tactic didn't work. And so in entrepreneurial world, the best lessons are learned in loss of money instead of loss of blood. And so I'll give you a little example. About 12 years ago, when I first started coaching and consulting the fitness industry, I was just working out of my guest bedroom of my house, and I had one employee, and she was my assistant. And my wife came to the guest bedroom, and she said, "Hey, the sprinklers are on, but one of the sprinkler head's broken, and it's just like a fountain out there in the backyard. Can you go fix it?" "Sure, honey." Now I'm capable. I went to the garage and got the sprinkler head and got the little hand shovel and started digging around. Well, just then, Marilyn, my assistant, comes running out of the house and says, "Bedros, there's someone on the phone who replied to the email that we sent out and is interested in talking to you about your coaching program." Now, at the time, the coaching program was $5,000 for the year. Today, I charge $30,000 for the year. So the pain would actually be greater if this had happened today. But $5,000 then was the equivalent of $50 million, to be honest with you, to me at the time. So Marilyn comes out. I said, "Marilyn, you've heard me, give the pitch and walk people through the process many of times. I know you got this. Go do it. I'm covered with mud right now. I can't pick up the phone, and I certainly can't get away from all this trench that I've dug." Well, 20 minutes later, she comes out, and I go, "What happened?" She goes, "Well, they're going to think about it." The reality is the sale was lost, and $5,000 was lost, when in reality, I could have simply told my wife, "That's not in my 5%. However, let's call someone who can do it for whatever, 50 or $100 and fix that pipe." And so these days, I walk around the house, for the last 2 years, haven't even been doing that, because now we have a house manager whose job it is just to manage our house and change light bulbs and unclog sinks and so on. But there was a time when my wife would go, "Hey, look, the light bulb's burnt out." "Fantastic. That's not on my 5%. That's a 95%. Or if I need to change a light bulb, that's an email broadcast I can send out." And so as you adopt this mindset of "that's not on my 5%, now the divorce rate can go up. So you have to make sure to say, "That's not on my 5%. However, honey, do X," right? And this is what I kind of coach my mastermind clients in. But that is a great saying, and I want everybody listening to this to adopt that is not in your 5%. And if you can protect your 5%, you'll have a life where you're not overwhelmed, you're making great money, you're making a tremendous impact in the community that you serve, and you still get home on time to enjoy the quality time with the family.
Well, I love the concept, and I am going to look towards slowly starting to move towards that as I can. I want to talk a little bit about something that you've talked about in the past, and that is becoming, or at least positioning yourself as an expert in your community. How can we go about doing that well?
Yes, sir. Well, today, gone are the days where we are so far away from getting on TV. Because it used to be that, if you get on TV, you're a celebrity, you're a talk show host, you're a talking head from the news broadcaster, you're a celebrity, you're trusted, you're an expert. Well, today there is a new network, and that is the U Network. You can literally have your own show on YouTube and broadcast it on Facebook and on Twitter. And so many people forget that the formula for being an expert is simply this: being known and being liked for a very specific skill. Being known and liked, and by the way, if you're known and liked about something, that means there's trust. So really it's the know, like, trust factor about a specific skill that you provide to an industry or a group of people. Doesn't matter if they're a dentist, a chiropractor, a personal trainer, an attorney, or whatever. And so the easiest way to do this is to constantly put yourself out there on a Facebook Live video. Real simple. A Facebook Live video can be that you just get a little tripod for your iPhone and you log on and go, "Hey, this is Dr. Bedros Keuilian with so-and-so Chiropractics, and today I want to talk to you about the 3 most important things that people come to me about when they're experiencing neck pain. Oftentimes they think the pain originates in the neck, when in reality it doesn't. It originates in these other areas, and let me explain how. Stress is one, or whatever the things are that you would teach, right? And so you're giving free information, and what you're really doing is you're keeping yourself front of mind in front of the community. And they constantly go, "Holy cow, I have neck pain." You might do one on back pain, shoulder pain. You might do one on, are you limping and don't even realize it? Here's the 3 common reasons why people limp. And it's not because you need a knee replacement. It may be because you have not seen a chiropractor who can give you the proper treatment and adjustment. And here's the 3 things you're looking for. And eventually, as you come with a giving hand on a specific topic over and over and over again, and the more goodwill you can build with that community on that topic, the more you're liked, the more you are known, and the more you are trusted. And those 3 things together create celebrity or a a expert status or brand for you. So it's really that process. Now you can do that in videos as well. It doesn't have to be a live broadcast. I happen to like live broadcasts because Facebook does a great job in broadcasting out to anybody and everybody that you are live and that you are on a mission about a specific topic. But then they'll take that thing and rebroadcast it for the next 48 hours to anyone who's a member of your fan page or is a friend and follows you. And so it's a really good way to create this new network. And by the way, you can download that video immediately after you do a live broadcast and repurpose it on YouTube using specific keywords like Chino Hills Chiropractor or whatever. But the idea is to showcase you as a human, as a person, and not as a business, giving. And before long, you're the trusted expert.
Well, the arena of Facebook Live, is fairly new. Are there some, things to do and things to avoid when we're in front of the camera?
Yes. In fact, we shared this at my mastermind. Craig Valentine and I run a mastermind together. And Justin, was it Justin Williams?
Yeah. Justin Williams.
Yeah, Justin Williams was there, and he's like, hey, man, I really love what you taught at your mastermind. Any chance you can get on my podcast and teach this? So I'll gladly teach it here as well. It's a bit of a 5-step process, and let me tell you, I spent a lot of money and a lot of energy trying to figure this out. But when you first go live on Facebook, thing number one is that no one's watching. You get a little eyeball on the screen that you can see with the number 0 in it. And that's pretty intimidating because nobody's watching. You just went live and no one's watching. So what has to happen first is if you've got any kind of following, if you've got a customer list, email list, if you've got any kind of Facebook fan page or personal page, the night before, broadcast out and also mention on your fan page and your personal page that you will be going live at this time on this network, on this fan page or on this personal page, talking about this topic. So basically, you're going to encourage people to become an audience. Now, you and I both know that if we say, hey, tomorrow morning at 11 a.m., I'm going live and I'm going to talk about the 3 fundamental things that lead to chronic back pain, well, people aren't going to trickle on board right at 7 o'clock. Or 11 o'clock. They're going to, find their way in at 11:05, 11:03, 11:09, 11:10, etc. And so thing number one is let everybody know the night before that you're going to be broadcasting, what you're going to be broadcasting about, and where and when. So we got that. That's just a broadcast via email and, of course, a post on Facebook. Thing number two is when your Facebook thing goes live, you've got 0 people watching you. So I believe having a 3 to 4 minute buffer time does 2 things. It gives Facebook to broadcast your message into everyone's notification center. And by the way, it's very important in the description of that Facebook broadcast, because before it lets you go live, it says, describe what you're going live about. You can't just say, hey guys, I'm going live, because that's what everyone's going to see in their notification center. And the reality is people are selfish. They don't care that you're going live. They don't care about you and me. When I go live, I want to say, I write how to become a 7-figure earning personal trainer. Now, if you're a trainer and you just got that notification from Facebook, it says Bedros Keuilian is live, and he's teaching how to become a 7-figure earning personal trainer. That is far more compelling than, hey, guys, I'm live, right? And so as a chiropractor, I might write how to overcome crippling back pain. Wow. Well, Facebook is going to send me that notification, but it's going to take a little time. So the first 3 to 5 minutes, I like to banter. I typically go through, hey, here's the top 5 books that I read. Here's the top 5 places I vacationed at with my wife and kids. Here are the top 5 gluten-free foods that I've eaten recently, things that my market would resonate with. And when you do this, you're not only giving people a peek into your life, you're also buying yourself some time, and you just see that eyeball that has 0 in it going to 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 100 viewers. So that now you can start talking about the crippling back pain solution after 5 minutes is up or 3 minutes is up, and there's actually eyeballs watching you. So that's thing number 2, is you want to banter a little bit and give them a peek into your life. Are you with me so far, Richard?
I'm following right along.
All right. Thing number 3 on this is that we want to encourage people to like, love, and share right away. Here's why. Facebook determines the amount of eyeballs they're going to send to your videos now while you're live and later when it's in rebroadcast based on the number of likes, loves, and shares. So as you know, there's the like button and there's a love button now and the happy face button and, of course, the share button. So thing number 3 is I'm going to start off by saying, hey, so if you like the idea of finally ditching your back pain and being able to be active, live a healthy life, be able to lift your grandkids up and go shopping and unload the car and the groceries, if you like the idea of that, please like, love, and share this video so that it can help more people throughout our community. So immediately, I'm going to ask that if you like the idea of what I'm about to teach you, please like, love, and share, interact, and leave comments below, because after we're done with this, I'm going to log off and then come back and answer all your questions. See, all of those things are called social indicators. And Facebook is looking for social indicators to go, aha, this is a popular broadcast on a popular topic. I'm going to show it to more people now, and I'm going to rebroadcast it to more people as well. Because as you know, Facebook throttles what they show on everybody's timeline. So that's thing number 3. Thing number 4 is you teach. You teach the big thing. Oftentimes people overteach. We want to teach them the very simple things. We want to teach them a movement or two. Again, because our industries are very similar, it might be the top 3 exercises that you could do at home to firm, tone, and tighten your midsection. And we're not going to show them anything compelling and challenging. We might show them a plank. We might show them how to just pull their belly button into their spine and actually stand straight and use their internal core muscles even when they're walking around, sitting in their office chairs. And another third easy movement. We're not going to have them go, okay, lay on the ground. We're going to do bicycle crunches. That's a complex movement that no one's going to do right now, or feels like, hey, this is too tough for me to do. So we're going to teach them whatever we're going to teach them for the next, 5 to 10 minutes. And then finally, we're going to ask one more time. And now, if you have social proof, if you have people who have gotten benefits from crippling back pain after working with you, I would talk about them. Sometimes you just need a picture of these people. So 8.5 by 11, a picture of, hey, I want you to see Mrs. Jones. So the last and final thing, the 5th thing is, if you're wondering if this works, here's a picture of Mrs. Jones. She lives here, right here in Chino Hills. She had crippling back pain for the last 19 years. And after 4 sessions of working with me, we found that her flex capacitor was out of whack, and we were able to readjust it. And today she's walking pain-free. And here's a picture of Bob. He's a highfalutin executive, and Bob travels so much that his back just falls out of alignment. And after just 3 sessions, we discovered that blah and stress is a big trigger for his back pain. And so this is the systems that we did with him and the things we did to fix his back pain. So you want to back everything up with social proof at the end, and then wrap it up with a call to action. And the call to action is typically, if you are suffering from crippling back pain, like the people that I just showed you right now, or if the message that I spoke about here resonates with you, just send me a private message, and I'll let you know how you can come in and try out a free adjustment or do a diagnostic or whatever that offer is that they're making. And you would be surprised. This 5-step formula is free. It positions, it overcomes any objections, it delivers social proof, and then it gives the call to action so that people end up crying or begging to come in and work with you because you have positioned yourself as the category of 1.
Wow. Bedros, you are dropping value bombs galore. I'm trying to keep up here, but that is jam-packed with a lot of information there that's actionable. I haven't done anything yet with Facebook Live, but, and a little bit of it as well. I think all of us kind of get the jitters of doing it, but what you're saying, realize that no one's watching initially, and, maybe probably a good idea to maybe do a practice run-through, not live, and then go through all of those strategies that you're talking about.
Sure, exactly right. And by the way, here's the great thing, and I've bombed many of times just because our internet failed and Facebook just starts crapping out or whatever. Dude, you could delete it. If you were like, holy cow, this was crap. Like, this was the worst thing I've ever done on the planet. Oh my gosh, I'm going to vomit. Then just delete and nobody will ever see. I mean, the people who were there, I guess, live will have seen it. But it's not going to rebroadcast because you just delete the damn thing and you're done.
Right. It'll maybe just be a bad memory that they had, but it won't live on in infamy. I like that.
Exactly.
Well, I want to shift a little bit and talk about how we can be better leaders and trainers of our staff. As chiropractors, we might have one other person or 2 or 3, but we typically have a small team that we are trying to motivate and train and lead. Any strategies you have for that?
Yes. Yeah. Anytime we're going to be a good leader, we have to first realize that we have to lead from the front. What I mean by that is we can't be that guy I was recently watching Game of Thrones. Everybody would talk about Game of Thrones, and I was like, what is it up? What is the deal with Game of Thrones? So finally I decided, all right, I'm going to watch this show. And immediately I was hooked like the rest of the world. And there was a scene, I don't know the character's name, but typically the guy in charge of whatever village, the king, he is the one who is on horseback leading the charge when there's a battle. Well, there was a particular scene where this guy who was in charge did not lead from the front. In fact, he just yelled, "Charge, everybody, go kill the bad guys." And of course, they got destroyed because nobody fights with passion and purpose and conviction when the king himself is not leading from the front. I personally had this problem about 6 years ago as my business was growing. And today we've got about 30 team members here in our corporate office running our franchise and my coaching and consulting business. When we only had 6 people about 5 or 6 years ago, I just assumed everybody was self-motivated and driven like I am. So I'd wake up and do my work first thing in the morning at home. Then I'd come in here and I'd just, close the door and work, and I'd give people their marching order and think that it was getting done. But people did not know why I was giving these orders. So one thing a good leader does is they show up before everybody else, at least in the beginning, until you have a good operations manager. For example, Richard, I know you were talking to Joan, who's my operations officer. She gets here first. She's first in, first out. And when I'm not in the office, she tells everybody, Bedros is out traveling. He's speaking in Chicago today. He's at this place the next day. He's doing this so that we can get more leads and prospects for Fit Body Bootcamp franchise so that you guys can sell them and we can keep increasing your health care and your pension plans, etc. Like, she's always going back to our message of our big 2020 vision of impacting the world through health and fitness by the year 2020. And of course, how it's going to benefit them directly, more pay, better pension, better health plan. And so, because the reality is most people don't know what it is that you're doing as a leader. And so 1, you have to share your vision. 2, you have to lead from the front by doing it yourself until you can replace yourself by a good office manager or a good operations manager. And of course, number 3 is be very clear on the goals of the business. What I mean by that is oftentimes as entrepreneurs, we are great with our vision. Okay, we're going to start doing this from now on and offering that service, but we don't explain why, and we don't create a process or a system. We think we did a good enough job explaining to our team, but the reality is until you can explain to them where they understand it, get it, and see how the outcome is going to benefit everybody, they're not going to be fully behind it. So lead from the front. Of course, be clear with your vision. Is the number 1 and 2 things that I can tell you that a good leader would do. When I started doing that, it completely changed the culture in my business because they knew exactly why we need 3,000 Fit Body Bootcamp locations by 2020. They know exactly why I need 1,500 coaching clients rather than, all right, guys, we're just chasing numbers. Now we're chasing our mission. And as it turns out, to get to our mission, we have to work on the numbers.
Yeah, I think all of those are great points. And especially, that third one, I found that in my business, I have an idea in my head. And to me, the steps are clear. But if I don't effectively communicate my expectations to others of how they're going to follow those steps, I get back something that, this isn't what I was hoping or asking for. But it's really not their fault. I just didn't do a very good job of laying it all out. And so that's something I've been working on personally to get more out of everyone. And really, I get things done and quicker, don't waste time.
Here's an interesting fact for you, Richard, on that front. Vanguard University recently did a research study asking mid-level employees of American companies what is the number 1 thing that your upper management is lacking. And it wasn't, hey, we're lacking more pay, we're lacking more compassion, any of that. They said communication. 97% of the mid-level employees said, we're lacking clear communication on what our goal and mission is. Interestingly, because it was only a 1-question survey, they asked the same 1 question, but in a different format to the upper management of all those companies. And the question in this case was posed, rank between 1 being excellent and 2 being awful, where you fall in communication. Interestingly, 90% of upper management said that they rank between a 1 and a 3, meaning excellent to great in communication skills. So you look at the big gap between what the rank and file feels is the communication gap and how the leaders feel that they're great communicators, because in our head, we've communicated the message to ourselves so well and we understand it so well, but we failed to use our outside voice and share it with everybody. So to that point where communication is concerned, because communication, as it turns out, according to Vanguard University, is the number one thing that dictates the failure or success in all businesses. As it turns out, I started adopting this new thing where I tell you what it is that we're going to do. I tell you why we're going to do it. And then I ask you to feed it back to me. And I go, okay, now, Richard, now tell me what it is that we're going to do and why we're doing it. And so you might say, okay, Bedros, we're going to have, 3,000 locations by the year 2020. That means we need to bring on board 26 locations per month on the first year, and the second year, 48 locations per month, et cetera. And the reason we're doing this is to meet our 2020 goal of impacting the world through health and fitness by the year 2020, or 20% of the world by 2020. Okay, great. You and I are on the same page. Now I go to the next person. That might be a web developer, an SEO person in my company, media buyer. And I'm going to tell you what it is we're doing, why we're doing it, and then feed it back to me. And I have eliminated all communication problems in my business, thankfully, because of that Vanguard University study.
Wow, that's fascinating. But I bet that would, probably representative of a lot of the way companies are run and that disconnect.
Correct.
Well, I want to ask you this. You've been incredibly successful in business, and one of the things you've been quoted as saying is that you're no different than anyone else. You don't have an Einstein intelligent or special talent. So what is it about you? How do you account for how you've been so successful? And what is the next guy? What's he lacking?
Yeah. Very good question. It's the Immigrant Edge. And I'll tell you what that means. The Immigrant Edge says that, because I'm a college dropout, man. I went the first semester and I dropped out. I barely made it out of high school. English is a second language for me. I was diagnosed with ADHD and as having OCD. So I lock on to the most stupidest things when I shouldn't be locked on to, but I've learned how to lock myself out of it, right? And so the biggest thing that everyone's missing is that Immigrant Edge. What do I mean by that? An election comes. Man, we have the opportunity to elect whoever the hell we want, yet everyone starts raising hell and marching in the streets. Just go and vote, because what they found with people who are marching in the streets recently, both in Oregon, California, and New York, over 60% of the people they arrested during these marches, obviously they arrested them not for marching, but for the disorderly conduct of some sort, over 60% had not even voted, either for Hillary or for Donald Trump. Yet they're out there marching and doing stupid things. So the reality is that most people think that things suck around here anyway. The economy sucks. My circumstance sucks. The city I live in sucks. I don't have the opportunity. I don't have the right connections. I don't have the right information. What they don't realize is that information is free and at your fingertips. If you just go to Google and YouTube, you can pretty much become an expert on anything. With one quick search on Google, you can then connect and network with the right people who can introduce you to the right people. I once asked someone, I said, how do I connect with Tony Robbins? And they go, oh, you're just one person away. You need to go and connect with Joe Polish. I go, well, how do I connect with Joe Polish? They go, you pay him $25,000 for a program that he runs called the Genius Network, and he will make that introduction when it's appropriate. Easy enough. 5 years ago, I paid my $25,000 to Joe Polish. I've been paying him $25,000 a year since, and I've been connected to anybody and everybody who's some of the greatest thought leaders on the planet who have bought me speed and network and connections and who have made me introductions that I couldn't make if I was in business for 30 years. So I was able to time collapse by paying for that. So really, most people forget how good we have it here. So my argument is, go to a third world country. Just go to a third world country and live like they do for a week or two, number one. Or just realize that every adversity you have, not having access, not having the connections, not having the money, is an adversity. And you can easily turn that adversity into an advantage by reframing things. See, because I lived such an awful life as a kid, and we were poor, we were broke, and we never had enough of anything, I've gone through so much stuff. I go, man, I'm like tougher than leather. I'm tougher than leather. And so anytime, we get an audit from the Federal Trade Commission because we are a global franchise and the Federal Trade Commission oversees franchises. My entire team panics. Oh my gosh, we're being audited. I go, yay, that's exciting. That means we have finally made it big enough to be audited by the Federal Trade Commission. I'm excited. So I'll take any adversity and reframe it as a positive so that I can get excited about it. You know, if I got a software called FitPro Newsletter. 4,000 personal trainers use it to send out email newsletters and automated broadcasts to their clients. About 3 years ago, the entire server system of this thing crashed. I was stoked. Now, did we deal with a lot of customer service issues? Yes, but I was stoked because I go, finally, we found the breaking point at 2,300 clients. This thing crashed. All right. Now, what is the best server system out there? It turns out it's Rackspace. AT&T uses it. The Pentagon uses it. I said, great, guys, we are going to buy redundancy from Rackspace, and this is never going to happen again. Thank God this happened now and not when we have 10,000 users. And so every adversity I deal with, I reframe into an opportunity for solution. And so if you start kind of reframing things for yourself, that not because, hey, I'm a victim because I was a foreigner and because people yelled at me and said, go back to your own country, and because I was broke and because no one wanted to talk to me in school because I didn't speak English. All of that was, hey, guess what? Because no one talked to me because I didn't speak English, I'm excited for that because I tried harder to make friends and build rapport. And today I'm one of the best salesmen on the planet. As long as I believe in a product or service, I can sell the hell out of it. And so it's all about reframing where you are instead of pissing and moaning about it. And that is the immigrant edge. And that's what I always want to impart with people.
Well, I love it. I'll tell you, we're a country made up of immigrants, but it didn't take too many generations to just forget all of that and lose that edge. And you're absolutely right. I mean, that's not what built us and got us where we are. And what a great reminder. And yeah, anyone in any situation, there's people that I think to myself, I don't always say it, but I think if you put as much time into the whining and the complaining, into actually doing something about it, you would have already taken care of this. But everyone doesn't think that way, unfortunately.
Well said, man. Well said.
Well, we are running out of time, sadly, but before you go, I do have some final thoughts. Who are your personal heroes?
My personal hero is Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, Oprah Winfrey, and Arnold Schwarzenegger. And, of course, my father, who risked his life to get us here.
Well, those are all great examples of success. I want to ask you, do you have any daily rituals and habits or affirmations that you do every day to help you stay on target?
Yes, Craig Valentine would disown me as a friend and a brother if we are very much like brothers. If I didn't have any structure and rituals in my day, so very much like him, I wake up. He wakes up at 4 a.m. The secret, by the way, he wrote in his book Perfect Day Formula. Just so you know, Richard, he wrote that he wakes up at 4 a.m. He doesn't. He wakes up at 3 a.m. and I know this because he sends me and a handful of others a personal text message every morning when he wakes up to as a motivational text message. And I said, Craigie, why didn't you write that you wake up at 3 a.m. like you really do? He goes, I didn't want people to think I'm too weird. So he really wakes up at 3 and not 4 like he says. But I wake up between 4:30 and 5 a.m., never before 5 a.m. And one of my personal rituals are to never hit the snooze button ever, even on a weekend. Because the way I look at it is the moment I hit the snooze button, that is the first decision I've made in the day. And I've told my subconscious mind that 10 minutes of poor interrupted sleep has greater value to me than my purpose and my mission and dominating my path for the day. And so that's one of my rituals. And as far as a higher level thing that I do, as soon as I take a shower and I go downstairs and while I'm making my coffee, I've tried meditating. Meditating wasn't for me. So I take about 5 minutes and I say, what are the 3 things I'm grateful for today? And this morning it was the fact that it rained in Southern California because we just need that rain because the drought's been awful to us the last couple of years. I'm grateful for my dog. She's just therapeutic and she's just so loving and she loves me no matter what. And of course, I'm thankful that I've got a beautiful house because I remember a time living in so many apartment complexes and seeing so much crime and you wouldn't even want to see the things I've seen as living in these horrible apartments. And now I have a nice big house, a big property where I have what I consider my bubble. I feel safe. So 3 things I'm grateful for. 3 people I'm grateful for, and then I go through the 3 people I'm grateful for. This morning it was my wife, and then Joan, my personal assistant and office manager here, and then Dustin Bogle, who I can see right now through the window in my office. He's our top salesperson for Fit Body Bootcamp, and I'm extremely thankful for all 3 of them. And then I go, who are the 3 people that I'm going to send a text message to and just puff up? and say, hey, Richard, thank you so much for being a friend, for doing this podcast. You're helping so many people. Not enough people probably show their gratitude towards you. And I just want to let you know that I'm thinking of you and I'm grateful for you. And I'll just send 3 text messages to 3 people. I get all that done in about 5 to 6 minutes while the coffee's brewing, and my day begins. I grab my laptop, turn my phone upside down, and put it on silent so I'm not tempted by it. And I go right to work, what I call GSD time, get shit done time. And within the next 2 hours, I get more done than I would if I came to the office and worked while people were trying to interrupt me and get a piece of me.
Great. I love that. I started getting up earlier right after I read Craig's book, which is excellent, by the way. And I found it's easier and easier to get up. I mean, I'll wake up now before the alarm goes off. And on the weekends when I don't set an alarm, I still got to get up at the right time without ever setting it. So it's on autopilot now, and it's a piece of cake. Early on, it wasn't so easy, but it doesn't take long.
No, it doesn't. You're right.
Well, in addition to that book by Craig Ballantyne, The Perfect Day, do you have any other books you'd like to recommend? Well, maybe a single book.
Yeah, you know what? If there was one other single book I'd like to recommend, it would be Stephen Pressfield's book, Turning Pro. That thing has, when he put that book out, I thought I had already turned pro, but I realized my amateur ways. And, it's that 1 degree of change that you get. Anyone who's listening to this goes, listen, man, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm disciplined. I've got structure to my day. What do you mean I need to turn pro? And the example I always give to people is, well, at 211 degrees, water boils, and it's pretty hot, and you can throw an egg in there, and you'll have a hard-boiled egg, and that's fantastic. You can eat it. 1 more degree of change, at 212 degrees, that water becomes steam, and that steam can power a locomotive and move things across this country. So if you can get 1 more degree of change out of a book that could help you be more efficient, effective, make more money, have a bigger impact, wouldn't you want it? And to me, that book is Turning Pro.
Well, we will definitely link to that in our show notes page in case our listeners want to grab a copy for themselves. What's the best way for people to contact you to find out more about you and what you do?
Well, best way to reach me is through my blog at bedroskeuilian.com, or just find me on Facebook. I'm very active on Facebook, facebook.com/Bedros Keuilian.
I'm going to throw in there, if they search for you on YouTube, they're going to find tons and tons of great information. In researching this show, I watched a couple of your videos, and man, they are well put together. I hope one day I can speak the way you do, because it comes off great.
Wow, thank you so much. That means a lot. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Mr. Bedros Keuilian, for being on the show today and providing so much valuable information for our listeners. It's truly been a pleasure, and thank you again.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for listening to the Chiro Business Mojo podcast at www.chirobusinessmojo.com.